Well, I grew up in a little town south of Pittsburgh called Canonsburg. It was a quiet place. I had parents who both worked. My father actually worked in the steel mills here in Pittsburgh. My grandfather had worked in the steel mills. And as a matter of fact, even when I did go to college, I spent summers working in that same mill alongside my father's, working on the blast furnace and wearing a silver suit with a little window and big gloves and pouring molten iron into big railroad cars. One of the interesting things, just proximity, there was a little cabinet shop. Their doors open often, and I can remember going over there and standing in front of their overhead doors and watching them build these kitchen cabinets. And eventually one of them said, "Hey kid," and I was maybe 12, "Hey, come over here. Let me show you how these work." And so I started putting glue in the joint. It was that fascination of assembling things. And fast forward to applying for college, I had looked at various possibilities. I was considering engineering. One of the universities interviewed me. They had their alum in Pittsburgh interview me. And at the end of the interview, it's interesting, he paused and he said, "You know, you don't strike me as an engineer." I went to college and it was a great experience. I ended up at Notre Dame, 5-year program. And school was enlightening, and I came back and returned to Pittsburgh with the intent of really just applying for graduate school, and I met my wife that summer, and that was the end of that. One day, my employer came to me and said, "You know, I'm in charge of the membership committee for AIA Pittsburgh," and he said, we need to recruit more members, and I'm trying to bring people in as chair of this committee. Would you be interested in joining the AIA? New, I guess, to the profession, and had just passed the exam. And he said, "You know, if you join, I'll pay your dues, but you have to be involved in a committee." I got started, and it was, you know, something that I really enjoyed. Didn't seem like hard work at all, but something that was meaningful. It gave me a chance to engage with other members. I started off on a bylaws committee, and we were revamping the bylaws, just updating them, and did that with Don Carter, one of the other presidents. I was still pretty young at that time. Then the next step was to work on the education committee, which I did for a couple of years, and eventually I took over the education committee as chair. I eventually moved on to the board, and then worked my way up through the ranks of treasurer, secretary, and VP, and then finally president of AIA Pittsburgh. And when I became president, just in my very first meeting as president, one of our members showed up, a guy named David Lewis. David showed up at our board meeting and asked if he could say a few words, and I said sure, and he wanted to throw out an idea. And it was around the time that Pittsburgh had gone into decline. The city had lost its steel industry. The city had lost its heart. It was really the driving engine, and we still call it the Steel City. And so it left a lot of people scratching their heads about what to do in Pittsburgh and how to recover. And David's idea was that the AIA should get involved and make recommendations and try to come up with solutions for recovering the city's vitality. His idea was founded around the idea of using this process called RUDATs, Regional Urban Design Assistance Teams, to use that to target industrial sites, former industrial sites, and come up with design solutions to repurpose those sites to make them more usable and provide opportunity for new development and industry. Pittsburgh's not unique. There are other cities around the world, in England and Germany and other parts of the world, that are struggling with the same thing, the decline of industry. And one of the things that we ended up doing, at David's suggestion, we had ties with the UK. We invite a figurehead who could draw the national and international press to the plight of industrial cities. And so we invited Prince Charles, now King Charles, but we invited him to be the keynote speaker and chair, the official honorary chair of the conference, to give him a formal invite from the chapter. And surely I was surprised when maybe about a month or so later, after sending that letter, I got a call from Buckingham Palace saying, "We'd like to come and look around. We're considering this." And he came. And it was a great success. It was the beginning of something that we never expected we could do here. Pittsburgh has changed through some of the programs that have been put in place, like the UDream program, which Carnegie Mellon University initiated. And that program brought minorities into Pittsburgh to give them an opportunity to experience working here and doing some academic work here. But one of the great things was they stayed. While I was at the AIA at the national level on the board, we had a Equity and Architecture Commission, architectural commission to look at diversity in the profession, and we came up with some issues. We heard a lot of problems were still prevalent in trying to find equity and fair treatment. We, as a result, initiated a set of equitable practice guidelines, which helps both women and minorities in the office. Personally went to schools that were primarily minority populations and talked to them about what architecture was about and tried to excite them about the potential. And then the national level, being really proud to have been involved with bringing names and elevating those who didn't get much credit back in the early days of AIA. Julia Morgan was the first woman to become a gold medalist, and I worked behind the scenes to make that happen. Paul Revere Williams was the first African American to receive the gold medal, and that was another effort that I worked hard behind the scenes to influence to make that happen. We have now a new executive director. We have, minority engagement at the national level with our new executive director there. The Firm of the Year award was another area that I'm really proud to say that I had. I was sponsor of the firm that ended up being Firm of the Year, first minority firm to be appointed, voted Firm of the Year. So yeah, it's a nice feeling to sort of step back and say, oh yeah, well there were some things that opened some doors for others, and that's what it's about, helping others.